that are watching is God's been prophesying. He prophesied derailments. How many of you track our ministry? Remember when he said it? He said derailments will happen, and this will be a planned thing. So I think it's going to come out. And he said it's going to reveal that I'm going to derail the agenda of the enemy. He talked about look to the skies. There will be strange objects, strange things that will float through your skies. Do not fear. Well, we saw a balloon. He talked about classified documents would become unclassified. He's been prophesying that since about 2012. He talked about Supreme Court rulings that would hit our nation, 8-1, 7-2, 6-3. How many saw that? Because it would be a sign that we're going to win. He talked about Roe versus Wade, 2004, 2005 would be overturned. He talked about Netanyahu would return. We had hate mail for 5 years. Netanyahu has returned. But let me tell you, the same prophecy said there are two anointings that I've placed upon the earth, and they rest upon two men. One is Netanyahu, the other is President Trump. So if one has been established, why would God change his mind about the other? He talked about extreme heat. Last year, he said, 9 months before we had extreme heat, he said there will be extreme heat that will hit the nation, record heat. He talked about November 27th, 2022, 3 signs. It will rain in California in the drought-filled areas, and I will break the drought because I'm raining my presence upon this nation. The heavens are opening. How many of you saw that? He said snow would be measured this year in feet. How many are watching that happen? But then he said, look to the airwaves. There'll be a disruption of communications. How many of you saw that? When the airlines just all shut down. Then he talked about there will be a divine delay, and they'll say, how many times can we delay? How many times can we continue? There was 15 votes for the Speaker of the House. He talked about what is this that is toppled? He said a structure. They will say, what is this that is toppled? He said it will be like an idol. 3 days after the Atlanta event, it topples. He said one will collapse. One will collapse before the TV screens. We saw that January 3rd of this year. And he said, when you see it, I will unite the nation. How many saw the Super Bowl? People came together. There's another prophecy. He said, intensities of shakings will increase. He just said that last week, 3 days later, Turkey was shaken. He said there will be explosions and fire and smoke that will fill the air. How many of you saw that? Montana, we don't know what this thing that exploded, this smoke, but then he said about derailments. He said they'll say, what is this that has happened to the chickens, to the waters? Come on, how many of you have been tracking these prophecies? You know I'm telling you the truth. So anybody that wants to say that God is not speaking, they're not listening to the right voices, because God is speaking. He is speaking. Well, how is God going to speak in this time? I'm going to tell you, it's through what Lance just said and others. Think about the two moments. Think the first one was David. He came to the battle, and he was literally falsely accused, watch this, by his elder brother who was jealous because he wasn't the Lord's chosen. Sounds like some people today, they're jealous, they're bickering, they're fighting. And he looks at David and he says, David, I know the naughtiness of your heart and I see the pride. And yet he didn't realize that David had something in his heart, and it's why you're gathered here today, and you that are watching, because you have something on the inside of you, that you love God, you want God more than anything in the earth. And you love your country. And that was the spirit of a young man named David. And it was that kind of connection with God and country that absolutely overcame, watch this, the tent of Do Nothing Christian Center. With people that were in the tent with the king, and they didn't do anything while Goliath is running his mouth.